The Glass City, a story of power, betrayal, and survival. In Omaji. Omaji never slept. It was a beast of steel and glass, its streets pulsing with ambition, hunger, and danger, a place where fortunes were made in the morning and lost by nightfall. The rich cruised through Victoria Island in their black-tinted SUVs, their world insulated by privilege. Meanwhile, the poor clung to the edges of survival, packed like sardines in battered yellow buses on the mainland. And in the middle of it all stood Samuel Molilo, a man who had learned to walk both worlds, a man who had come from nothing and built an empire. Samuel was born in Anugunla, one of the toughest neighborhoods in Omaji, a place where dreams died young and only the ruthless survived. As a boy, he saw his father work 3 jobs and still struggle to put food on the table. By the time he was 16, he had already made a decision. He would not live like this. Samuel wasn't just smart, he was hungry. He taught himself how to code on second-hand computers in an internet cafe, spending nights watching tutorials and breaking down software. By 25, he had launched his first startup. By 32, he was the CEO of Grace Tech Enterprises, a tech giant that changed digital banking in Omaji. With just a cheap phone, even the poorest street vendor could now send and receive money. The government loved him. Investors fought over him. The media called him a visionary. But in Omaji, power was never free. And Samuel was about to learn the cost. It started with a fire. One of his offices mysteriously burned down overnight. The police called it an electrical fault. Samuel knew better. Then came the second hit. His bank accounts were frozen. A government agency, one he had never even heard of, accused him of financial misconduct. This wasn't a coincidence. It was a message. Someone wanted him out, someone powerful. Samuel traced the attack back to Chief Naya Bako, a billionaire oil tycoon who had controlled Omaji for decades. He had friends in high places, in the government, in the underworld, and now he wanted Grace Tech. "You're playing in waters deeper than you know," a friend warned Samuel. But Samuel had never learned how to back down. With his empire under siege, Samuel turned to Odilo, a billionaire fixer who didn't solve problems. He erased them. Odilo lived in a world of shadows where money and power danced in secret. He agreed to help, but not for free. "The government listens to money," Odilo said, exhaling cigar smoke from his penthouse balcony. "But it listens more to fear. So tell me, Samuel, how far are you willing to go?" Samuel had built his empire cleanly. But Omaji wasn't a city for clean men. Within weeks, Odilo struck. Documents exposing Chief Bako's illegal offshore accounts were leaked. The media went into a frenzy. Government agencies that once protected Bako now circled him like vultures. Samuel thought he had won. He was wrong. The night was quiet as Samuel's car rolled through Ikoya. Then he noticed it, a black SUV in the rearview mirror. His driver glanced at him, tension in his eyes. "Boss, we're being followed." Before Samuel could respond, another SUV cut them off. Doors flew open. Men stepped out, armed, silent, ruthless. Samuel's heart pounded. He reached for his phone. A voice boomed through a megaphone. "Mr. Molilo, step out." They dragged him to an underground warehouse, the air thick with the scent of oil, sweat, and power. Chief Naya Bako sat in a leather chair, swirling whiskey in his glass. He smiled. The smile of a man who had crushed 1,000 rivals before. "You think money protects you?" Bako said, taking a slow sip. "This city belongs to men like me. You're just a visitor." Samuel knew what this was about. Bako wanted him to sell Grace Tech, to hand over everything he had built. "No," Samuel said. Baco sighed, then nodded. A hard fist slammed into Samuel's ribs. He gasped, pain exploding through his body. "Sell it," Baco repeated, his voice eerily calm. Samuel coughed, tasting blood. He looked up at the man who had ruled Omaji for decades. And then he smiled. "You're done, Chief." Baco frowned. Then his phone rang. He answered, listened, and his face turned pale. Outside, sirens blared. EFC agents stormed in, their voices cutting through the night. Odello had made his final move. Hours earlier, he had leaked the last, most damning piece of evidence, a secret recording of Baco discussing bribes with government officials. The presidency had no choice but to act. As Baco was dragged away in handcuffs, he turned to Samuel, his eyes burning with hatred. "This isn't over." Samuel just watched, because he knew it was. Weeks later, Samuel stood on his penthouse balcony, looking down at the city that had tried to break him. Baco was gone, but in Omaji, the game never ended. There would always be another predator, another war for power. But for now, the glass city was his. And in Omaji, power belonged to those bold enough to take it. If you were in Samuel's position, would you fight back or walk away? Drop your answer in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed the story. Share it with your friends who love powerful stories, and subscribe for more thrilling tales like this.